Beloved child, I know you have passed through seasons when your heart felt as though it had been placed before lessons far too great for your strength. There were days when you looked at your circumstances and could not understand why the door still remained closed, why your prayers seemed to fall into silence, why the very things you tried to avoid kept becoming the classroom where your soul had to sit down and learn through tears. But today I want you to hear this clearly. You are no longer the confused child who can only see pain as a wall. I am bringing you out of that place with deeper eyes, with a heart more able to discern, with a wisdom that does not come from human books, but has been refined in the nights when you still chose to believe, even though you could not see. Suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. As Romans 5:3-4 says, therefore, what once made you think you were falling apart was not allowed to be wasted. I used it like fire, refining gold, not to destroy you, but to reveal what is true, what is bright, and what I placed within you from the beginning. Some awakenings do not come with a loud sound, but like a stream flowing through ground that has been cracked for too long. At first, you only feel something very small, a little peace where there used to be only unrest, a little clarity where everything once felt covered in fog, a gentler response where you used to be defensive, a lighter prayer where you once only knew how to lament. Do not look down on these signs, beloved child, because life often begins in silence before it becomes a river. I have said, see, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland. As Isaiah 43:19 declares, you do not need to force yourself to understand everything I am doing. You only need to recognize that in the place you thought had dried up, I am placing water. In the place you thought had gone numb, I am awakening life. In the place you thought only traces of disappointment remained, I am sowing seeds for a new season. I remember every word you spoke to me in the secret place. I remember the nights when you no longer had enough strength to form a sentence, and all that remained was a weary breath turned toward me. I remember the times when you wanted to give up, yet still chose to rise one more time, not because you felt strong, but because deep within you there was still a small ray of trust that I had not finished the story. Those who sow with tears will reap with songs of joy. As Psalm 126:5 says, that word is not merely distant comfort, but the law of my grace for those who do not abandon the seed in a difficult season. Your tears do not fall meaninglessly before me. Some of those tears have watered the soil that will later bring forth discernment, compassion, perseverance, and a faith no longer easily shaken by passing emotions. You will understand that I did not merely see your pain. I was quietly turning it into material for the growth of your soul. Remember Hannah, the woman who brought the pain of barrenness and shame before me in the temple. People looked at her and may have seen only a sorrowful woman. Even Eli the priest at first misunderstood her silent prayer. But I heard what her lips could not fully say. I saw the brokenness behind her eyes, and from the place she thought held only shame, I brought forth Samuel, a prophetic voice for the whole people. Do you see? Some trembling prayers today can become a great calling tomorrow. Some pains you thought were only private wounds, when placed in my hands, can become the place where I give birth to something far beyond what you first asked for. Hannah did not leave the temple with every answer already in her hands, but she left with a lighter heart, because she had placed her burden in the right place. You are the same. Every time you surrender your pain to me, instead of letting it rule over you, you are making room for new life to be formed. And now, beloved child, I am leading you out of the crossroads of hesitation. You no longer have to stand endlessly before the question of whether you are worthy to be loved, to be used, to be healed, or to move forward. Your identity is not determined by the seasons when you were weak, by the people who failed to understand you, by the times you fell, or by the silences that once frightened you. Your identity is established in my love. I have called you by your name, you are mine. As Isaiah 43:1 declares, when that truth travels from your mind into the deepest part of your soul, you will no longer live like someone asking permission from fear in order to step into the future. You will walk like one who has been affirmed by their Father, not arrogantly, not recklessly, but steadily, not because everything has become easy, but because you have come to know that the one walking with you is faithful. There is an invisible boundary now opening within you. It will not always appear through dramatic events before the eyes of others. Yet, in your spirit, you will know that you no longer belong to the old land. The things that once paralyzed you will no longer keep you standing still as they once did. The voices that once filled you with doubt will no longer be louder than my voice within your soul. The memories that once pulled you backward will gradually lose their power over your steps. The Lord Himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. As Deuteronomy 31:8 says, therefore, be courageous enough to cross that boundary. Do not step forward with shallow confidence, but with the deep understanding that I have prepared you through every season, kept you through every night, taught you through every tear, and am now bringing you into a place of confirmation. Then you will look back and no longer see only a chain of confusing events. You will see the lessons hidden within pain, the streams opened in the desert, the doors prepared after seasons of silence, and my hand that never left you for even a moment. You are not accidentally present on this earth. You were not created merely to survive from one day to the next. I have placed within you a portion of light, a calling, an ability to touch others through the wisdom born from your own journey. Keep moving forward, beloved child. The season of uncertainty is giving way to a season of confirmation. Old pain is becoming a foundation. Faith that has passed through fire is becoming purer. And I, your Father, I'm leading you into a new chapter where you will not only know that you are loved, but also understand that your life has been guarded, prepared, and sent forth by me for a purpose more beautiful than you ever dared to believe. Beloved child, do not be too quick to call a changing season a failure, and do not look at a closed door and conclude that goodness has been taken away from you. Some things were grace for a certain stretch of the journey, but if you hold on to them for too long, they will no longer support you, and instead become a narrow frame that keeps your soul trapped in its old shape. I do not deny the value of the past season. I simply do not want you building a home in a place that was only meant to be a resting station. There are relationships, habits, ways of living, and promises that once helped you stand when you were weak. But now I am calling you into a deeper place, where you cannot continue carrying every old piece of baggage as though it still belongs to your future. Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. Say, I am doing a new thing. As Isaiah 43:18-19 declares, is not my command for you to despise the past, but my invitation to free yourself from allowing the past to rule your vision. I know, beloved child, that what hurts you most is often not because the old things were evil, but because they were once beautiful. There were people who truly walked beside you for a portion of the journey, who shared light with you, helped you grow, and were present in the days when you needed a hand to hold. That is why, when I begin allowing distance to appear, your heart becomes confused and wonders whether you are losing something precious. But child, not every separation means betrayal. Sometimes it means completion. A leaf does not fall because it is worthless. It falls because the tree must prepare for a new season. A person may have been right for one chapter, but if you force them or force yourself to remain in that chapter forever, what was once a blessing may quietly become a limitation. I am not teaching you to despise anyone, nor do I want you to turn away in bitterness. I am teaching you how to release with peace, how to bless without clinging, how to be grateful without chaining your heart to a season that is already closed. Remember Elisha when I called him through the prophet Elijah. He was plowing the field with his oxen, living in a life that was ordered, familiar, and predictable. But when the mantle of calling touched him, Elisha did not try to carry his entire old life into the new journey. In 1 Kings 19, he slaughtered the oxen, burned the plowing equipment as fuel, fed the people, and then rose up to follow Elijah. Do you see? He did not leave because the field was evil. He left because a greater calling had arrived. He did not despise the former years, but neither did he allow them to hold his feet in place when I opened a new destiny before him. There will be times when I call you in the same way, not to walk away in panic, but to step forward in confirmation, not to reject what once sustained you, but to lay it back into my hands as a sign that your heart is ready for what I am about to do next. Beloved child, what I am changing within you is not only your outward position, but the way you see yourself. You are no longer the person who must live according to old definitions, old failures, old wounds, or the words others once spoke when they could not see what I had placed within you. When my light truly touches your soul, you begin to realize that you are not someone standing outside heaven's plan. You have been called, chosen, and placed into this life with a purpose that is not accidental. You are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's own possession, as 1 Peter 2:9 declares. And those words are not reserved for some perfect future version of you, but for you even now, while I am healing, cleansing, and rebuilding you. I do not see you through the dust of what has happened to you, but through the holy intention I placed upon your life from the beginning. So, do not continue standing at the doorway like someone waiting for permission from the past in order to enter the future. There were delays that once made you weep, but if you look back with the eyes of faith, you will see that many of those slow seasons kept you from stepping through doors that were not yet the right ones. Some things did not open when you desired them to, not because I forgot you, but because I was preparing you so that when they finally opened, you would not lose your peace, your humility, or your purity. He has made everything beautiful in its time. As Ecclesiastes 3:11 says, "My timing is not threatened by fear, nor pushed by your impatience. What you once called too late may actually be the precision of my love. What you once saw as wandering in circles may have been the road I used to deepen your roots before allowing your branches to rise higher. One day, you will look back and see the scattered pieces of your life beginning to connect, like golden threads woven through a great tapestry. The paths where you thought you were lost will appear as the places where I trained your discernment. The brokenness you once wished to forget will become the foundation for deeper compassion. The separations that once wounded you will teach you what it means to love without dependence, to be grateful without being bound, and to move forward without becoming cold-hearted." Philippians 3:13-14 reminds you to forget what lies behind and press toward what lies ahead in pursuit of the goal. This does not mean erasing your memories, but refusing to let those memories hold the reins of your future any longer. I am placing within you a maturity that can remember without being imprisoned, love without losing itself, and let go without losing tenderness. Be at peace. My child, you are not late in my plan, nor have you been abandoned in the midst of changes you do not yet fully understand. I know when a season must close, when a person must leave an old role behind, when a door needs to open, and when your heart must be emptied in order to receive something new. I am not calling you forward to take away what is good. I am calling you forward because my love does not want you to live smaller than the portion I have prepared for you. Give thanks for what is past. Learn the lessons that needed to be learned. Bless those who have completed their part of the journey. And then turn your face toward the light. I am doing a new thing within you. And when it begins to blossom, you will understand that every ending placed in my hands can become the beginning of a life more spacious, more pure, and more aligned with your calling than ever before. Beloved child, there are days when I do not lead you with thunder upon the mountain, but with a very gentle breath within your heart. There are moments when I do not reveal the entire road ahead, but only provide enough light for the next step. So when your life is changing seasons, do not quickly call that shaking a sign of loss. Many times, what you think is delay is actually the silence I use to deepen the roots of faith within you. I know you want immediate understanding, immediate clarity, a clear explanation in your hands for every door that is just closed. But child, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. As Proverbs 3:5-6 reminds you, because there are paths that only begin to appear once you walk in trust. I have not abandoned you in the middle of the journey. I did not call you out of familiar places, only to leave you wandering helplessly in the wilderness. Even when you see only dust along the road, I already see the land I am preparing for your soul. Let me teach you to look at ordinary things with new eyes. You often search for me in passionate hours of prayer, in sacred songs, in moments when your spirit feels lifted high, yet I am also present in the quiet room when you wake with a mind still full of thoughts. In the simple meal, in the repetitive work, in familiar journeys, and even in the moments when you do not feel spiritual or strong. When the word says, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for men. As Colossians 3:23 declares, I am not only sanctifying the great works seen before crowds, but also the small things you do in secret. A table cleaned with gratitude, a word held back out of love, a responsibility completed with integrity. All of these can become a fragrance before me if your heart is turned toward me within them. Do you remember Bezalel? He did not stand on the battlefield like David, nor part the sea like Moses, nor call down fire from heaven like Elijah. Yet I filled him with my spirit so that he could carve, craft, and work with gold, silver, fine wood, and colors to create the furnishings for the holy place. As Exodus 31 recounts, I want you to understand this. Hands that labor quietly can also be filled with the Holy Spirit. Skillfulness, patience, endurance, and faithfulness in small things are never insignificant in my sight. Some souls believe they are only seen by me when they do something extraordinary. But I also see the one quietly preparing oil for the lamp, the one mending a torn garment, the one guarding purity of heart through an exhausting day. If I could use an artisan in the tabernacle to reveal my glory, I can also use your everyday life as a dwelling place for my light. So, beloved child, do not resist the hand that is healing you simply because that healing is not coming in the way you expected. There are parts within you that have lived in self-protection for so long that when my love touches them, you mistake it for pain. But I did not come to destroy you. I came to remove the layers that have left you weary. I am not forcing you to become someone unfamiliar to yourself. I am leading you back to the pure version of who you were before the world hardened your heart. I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit within you. As Ezekiel 36:26 says, is not a cold promise. but the heartbeat of my mercy. Let me step deeper into the rooms you once locked away. Let my peace touch the places where you only knew silence. Let my love tell you that you do not need to exhaust yourself in order to deserve being loved. Perhaps today you still cannot see how everything is being arranged. Perhaps all you see are scattered fragments, a prayer not yet answered, an opportunity that passed by, a change that left you confused, a weariness that has lasted longer than you expected. But I am gathering those fragments together with the wisdom of the one who sees from beginning to end. When I said in Isaiah 43:19, "See, I am doing a new thing," I was not telling you to create something new by your own strength. I was inviting you to stay awake enough to notice the stream beginning to flow where you once saw only dry ground. Growth does not always come through dramatic leaps. Many times it comes through becoming softer than yesterday, learning to forgive more quickly, learning when to remain silent, learning to trust even without clear evidence. These are quiet miracles, yet before me they are deeply precious. And one day you will look back and realize that I was closer to you than you ever imagined. I was there in the mornings when you thought you were alone, in the decisions that made your heart tremble, in the waiting seasons that seemed meaningless, and even in the disappointments that taught you to release what no longer belonged to your new season. You will understand that you were transformed not because you conquered every weakness by your own power, but because you learned how to remain beneath the shadow of my wings. As Psalm 91:1 says, "Whoever dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." Beloved child, rest in that truth. I am not only leading you toward a beautiful outcome, I am making your very life into a living testimony of grace. And when my light shines through you, people will not only see that you survived, they will see that my mercy is still alive, still healing, still making all things new within a soul that has learned to surrender. Beloved child, before you think about mountains that must be crossed or great doors that must be opened, I want you to rediscover the holiness hidden within an ordinary day. Many weary souls are not exhausted because I am far away, but because they have become accustomed to searching for me only in extraordinary moments, in soaring worship songs, in brightly lit sanctuaries, or in seasons when tears overflow because of suffering. But child, I am not only the one who meets you in the storm. I am also the Father who sits beside you in the quiet morning, in the simple meal, on the familiar road, and in the repetitive work where no one applauds you. When my son said, "Abide in me, and I in you," in John 15:4, it was not an invitation reserved only for sacred moments, but a call for you to bring your entire life into my presence. If you allow me into the rhythm of your everyday breathing, you will no longer live like someone searching for a distant God. You will begin to realize that I have been near you in even the smallest things your heart once overlooked. I know there are times when you only open your heart to my word after every escape seems closed, when your mind is tangled with confusion, when your soul desperately needs a quick answer just to keep standing. I do not condemn you for running to me in moments of weakness, because I have always been your refuge. But beloved child, I want to lead you beyond a life that seeks my word only as a lifeline in the middle of drowning. My word was not given merely to rescue you from danger. My word is the nourishment meant to sustain your soul and help it grow every day. As Deuteronomy 8:3 reminds you that man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. I want you to understand that the soul also knows hunger, thirst, and weakness when it has been neglected for too long. The world may give you information, noise, advice, analysis, and temporary solutions. But only my word can enter the deepest places where human reasoning cannot reach, healing what you do not know how to name and illuminating what you are unable to discern on your own. There have been nights when you no longer had the strength to form a complete prayer. There have been afternoons when your heart felt as heavy as stone, and you believed your faith had gone silent and dim. Yet suddenly, a verse from my word would return to your mind, not loudly, not forcefully, but gently, like a hand resting upon the shoulder of a trembling child. In those moments, the Holy Spirit was reminding you that you had never been abandoned. When Jesus said that the Comforter would teach you all things and remind you of everything I have said to you in John 14:26, those words were not only for the disciples long ago, they are also for you today. That is why you must sow my word into your heart during seasons of peace, so that when storms arise, the Holy Spirit will have holy seeds ready to awaken within you. A single verse hidden in your heart can become an anchor in a raging sea, a small flame in a cold night, a voice calling you back when fear tries to pull you away. Remember King Josiah, beloved child. When the temple was being restored, the high priest Hilkiah discovered the book of the law that had been forgotten within the very place where my word should have been honored. When the book was read before the king, his heart broke and he tore his robes, not because I desired to drown him in fear, but because my word awakened a nation that had grown accustomed to living far from the light. The story in 2 Kings 22 reveals something profound. Sometimes my word is not truly lost. People have simply allowed it to gather dust within the house of their own hearts. And when that word is opened again, it does not merely touch emotions, it changes the direction of an entire life. The same is true for you. There may still be rooms within your heart that have not been touched by my word for a long time. Old habits, old fears, old reactions, wounds you thought you had learned to carry forever. Let me open the holy book within your soul once more, not to condemn you, but to restore the covenant of love between me and you. The transformation I bring into your life rarely arrives like thunder that makes everyone turn and look. More often, it comes like morning dew soaking into the grass, like gentle rain sinking into the soil, like roots quietly searching for water deep beneath the ground. When you meditate on my word not only with your eyes but with your whole heart, that word begins rearranging the world within you. It teaches your mouth to become gentler when you would rather answer harshly, teaches your eyes to become clearer when you would rather judge, teaches your feet to stop before paths that do not belong to peace. As Psalm 1 says, of the one who delights in my law, that person shall be like a tree planted by streams of water, bearing fruit in season. You too will be nourished in secret before your life begins to reveal fruit outwardly. Do not underestimate the quiet moments when you read a single verse, meditate on a single truth, or hold one word deep within your heart. Before me, those are the moments when your soul is being watered, and one day, you will no longer come to Scripture as someone merely fulfilling an obligation, but as a child returning to the table of their Father. You will no longer read just to find a quick answer and leave, but to meet me, to hear me, to remain with me. When Jeremiah said, "Your words were found, and I ate them, and your word became to me the joy and rejoicing of my heart," in Jeremiah 15:16. It was the picture of a soul that did not merely receive written words, but allowed truth to become life within. I desire my word to move from the page into your thoughts, from your thoughts into your choices, and from your choices into the way you love, forgive, work, rest, and walk through every season of life. Then even an ordinary day becomes an altar. Quiet work becomes worship, and even your breathing carries the fragrance of my presence. Therefore, beloved child, do not ask me only for distant light far ahead in the future while neglecting the lamp at your feet today. I will lead you step by step, and each step is enough for the one who trusts. When Psalm 119:130 says that the unfolding of my word gives light and grants understanding to the simple. Let that light enter even the smallest things. The way you begin your morning, the way you face weariness, the way you listen to others, the way you make decisions in places no one sees. I do not only want you to know my word, I want you to live within it until your heart becomes more peaceful, your eyes become clearer, and the road ahead, though not fully revealed, no longer terrifies you. For I am near you, closer than any distance you once imagined, and my word within you will become a stream of living water that never runs dry, guiding you through every season with a light no darkness can overcome. Beloved child, before you long to see my hand part seas or shake mountains, learn first to recognize me in the dew resting upon the morning grass, in the breath still moving within your chest, in the bread you eat that you so often treat as ordinary. Many souls only call something grace when it is great, unusual, and astonishing before the eyes of others. Yet I often hide my faithfulness within things so small that only a grateful heart can truly notice them. When you think a timely word of kindness is merely coincidence, I have already placed comfort within it. When you believe a brief moment of peace in the middle of chaos is accidental, I have already covered your heart beneath the shadow of my wings. When you are close to collapsing, and suddenly a sentence, an encounter, or a moment of silence pulls you back toward hope, it is I reminding you that you have not been forgotten. As Lamentation 22-23 declares that my mercies are new every morning and that my faithfulness is great. Understand this. Grace does not always arrive like a rushing waterfall. Often it comes like a steady drop of water that keeps the roots alive during a dry season. So do not despise the days that seem ordinary, for it is within those very days that I am teaching your eyes to see more deeply. A mature soul does not rejoice only when great doors open, but also knows how to bow its head in gratitude when I preserve it through an hour of weakness. You may not receive everything you ask for, yet you are still being given enough strength for the portion of the road before you today. You may not yet see the promise fully formed, yet I am still keeping you from falling into the darkness of despair. When my word in Zechariah 4:10 asks, "Who dares despise the day of small beginnings?" I want you to remember that my kingdom often begins with a seed, a trembling yes, a hésitant step, a heart still full of limitations, yet willing to place itself into my hands. Do not measure the value of what you do by the applause of the world. A gentle word spoken when you could have been harsh. An honest choice when no one is watching. A quiet prayer offered for someone who is hurting. These things may seem small in human eyes, but in my hands they become streams of water flowing silently into dry lands. Remember the widow of Zarephath. Beloved child, she did not possess overflowing storehouses, lavish tables, or anything the world would call abundance. Before her, there remained only a handful of flour and a little oil, seemingly too little to survive the famine ahead. Yet when Elijah came and my word touched that moment of poverty, the small offering placed under obedience became a miracle that endured for many days. As written in 1 Kings 17, I did not ask her whether she had much. I asked whether she would trust. I do not need your abundance in order to reveal my power. I can begin with the smallest portion, from the place where you believe you have nothing left of value. Sometimes all you have is a little courage, a little hope, a little patience, a little love remaining after so many wounds. Bring it to me. In your hands it may seem too small to change anyone, but in my hands it can become bread for the hungry, oil for a fading lamp, and a testimony that I still sustain those who rest in me. I also want you to learn a gentle wisdom. Not every form of my support arrives clothed in greatness. Sometimes I lift you simply by giving you one night of rest after many weary days. Sometimes I heal you through a silence in which your heart finally stops condemning itself. Sometimes I guide you by closing a path you once believed was necessary, protecting you from what your eyes cannot yet see. As Matthew 10:29-31 reminds you that not even a sparrow falls apart from the Father's will, and that even the hairs on your head are numbered. Do you still fear that you are too small for my attention? Beloved child, I do not only care for your great destiny, I also care for your weary heartbeat. Your simple meals, the tears you quickly wipe away, and the questions you are too afraid to speak aloud. My care is not shallow like the gaze of the world. It goes deep, comes near, and walks beside you through every part of your life. When you begin living with eyes of gratitude, you will see the world around you covered with sacred signs. The light coming through your window will no longer be just light, but a reminder that I still give new mornings. A hand reaching out to help you will no longer seem like mere politeness, but perhaps the way I comfort a weary heart. A meal will no longer exist only to satisfy hunger, but will become a small banquet of faithfulness. And even the things you do for others, a comforting message, a quiet act of forgiveness, a moment of listening without judgment will rise before me like a fragrant offering. Colossians 3:17 teaches that whatever you do, in word or deed, do all in the name of the Lord. Therefore, do not wait until your life becomes radiant before offering it to me. Offer me the ordinary days, the quiet work, the honest weariness, the love no one else notices. I see it all. So, beloved child, keep walking forward, even if your steps are not yet steady today. I do not require you to carry a magnificent bouquet before coming near me. I gladly receive even a single small flower if it is offered in faith. Do not allow comparison to blind you to the grace already beside you. Do not let the longing for greatness cause you to miss the quiet miracles that are keeping you alive, keeping your heart tender, keeping hope within you. When I declared in Philippians 1:6 that he who began a good work in you will carry it to completion. Rest in this truth. I am not only working through the great turning points of your life, but also through every small moment preparing you for the season I have appointed. Open your heart and see. Slow down and notice. Live with gratitude, for along the road you are walking, I have scattered countless fragments of my love, and as you gather them one by one with faith, you will understand that your life has never been without the fingerprints of the Father's hand. Beloved child, there are times when I hold you back, not with the gentleness you expected, but through an interruption that forces you to stop, look again, and awaken. You often think peace means everything unfolding according to your plans. Yet I want you to understand that true peace sometimes begins at the very moment your plans are blocked. For if you continue rushing forward by your own strength, driven by haste and by too much confidence in your ability to control everything, you may walk into places where your eyes cannot yet see danger, though I have already seen it clearly from afar. My word says, in their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. In Proverbs 16:9, not to take away your freedom, but to remind you that the safest freedom is the freedom guided by the Father's hand. I do not want you to live as someone restrained by fear, but neither do I want you running so fast that you can no longer hear my whisper behind your heart. There is a movement drawing near to your life, not like darkness seeking to consume you, but like a sacred bell awakening your soul from a familiarity that has lasted too long. You may sense it through a quiet unrest, a feeling that old things no longer hold the same shape, that something beneath the surface of ordinary days is beginning to shift. Do not panic, child. I do not warn you so that you will tremble. but so that you will return to the hidden place of refuge. When Psalm 46:1 says that God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble, I want you to place those words into your heart before the strong winds begin to blow. If the ground around you begins to shake, it does not mean I have left my throne. If the things you once leaned upon are tested, it does not mean you have been abandoned. Sometimes I allow shaking so that you may learn to distinguish between my solid rock and the sand, merely covered with the appearance of strength. Therefore, listen to me with a tender heart. Do not immediately resist everything that slows you down, for not every delay is a loss, and not every closed door is rejection. Some doors, if opened too early, would lead you into places where you are not yet strong enough to stand. Some paths, if you continued walking them, would steal the peace I have been so gently building within you. I adjust the rhythm of your steps, not because I despise your dreams, but because I love your soul more than any outward achievement. Those whom I love, I rebuke and discipline. As Revelation 3:19 reminds you, is not the voice of a harsh God wanting to wound you, but the heart of a Father who will not allow you to wander so far that you lose yourself. When I place a stopping line before you, ask me what I am protecting, instead of only mourning the delay of what you desired. Remember Saul on the road to Damascus. Beloved child, he walked with complete certainty that he was doing what was right, carrying authority in his hands and fierce determination in his heart. But along the road, a light from heaven shone upon him. He fell to the ground. His eyes were blinded, and all his former confidence shattered in a single moment. To human eyes, it may have looked like a humiliating interruption, a devastating collapse in the middle of his journey. Yet, within my plan, that very interruption rescued him from the wrong path and opened the way for a new name, Paul, the one who would carry the gospel to the nations. When my son called out, "Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me?" in Acts 9, it was not merely a question of judgment, but a doorway of grace. Do you see? There are moments when I must darken your old vision so that you may learn to see with a new light. There are times when I allow you to fall from the horse of self-reliance so that you may rise again in redeemed humility. I know you do not like the feeling of losing control. I know you want everything to be announced beforehand, arranged neatly, guaranteed in ways your mind can understand and rest within. But child, true security is not found in knowing everything that will happen. It is found in knowing who the one holding you truly is. When Isaiah 30:21 says that your ears will hear a voice behind you saying, "This is the way, walk in it," it is a promise that I do not leave you to walk in silence. But in order to hear that voice, you must slow down. You must stop allowing the noise of ambition, pressure, comparison, and fear to drown out the whisper of the Holy Spirit. Many times, I do not need you to do one more thing. I need you to pause long enough to realize how far you have drifted from peace. Haste may make you feel as though you are moving forward quickly, but if it pulls you away from my presence, then it is no longer progress. It is distance from the source of life. Therefore, if in the coming days something causes you to stop suddenly, do not immediately call it disaster. Bring it into prayer. If a plan is disrupted, ask me what wisdom I am opening before you. If a relationship begins weighing heavily upon your heart, allow me to reveal whether it is an invitation to step away from what is no longer pure. If a door you longed for suddenly closes, remember that I may close something small in order to save you from a far greater sorrow. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful later on. However, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace. As Hebrews 12:11 declares, I do not waste your tears, nor do I use shaking to drive you into despair. What I allow to touch your life will never escape my authority. And what I keep away from you is often a greater grace than the very thing you once asked for. Now, beloved child, return beneath the shadow of my wings, before the winds grow stronger. Lay down the quiet pride that tells you that you can carry everything by yourself. Allow me to guard your steps, purify your motives, soften your heart, and open your eyes to signs you once ignored. I am not calling you to live in fear of what is coming. I am calling you to live awake, anchored, pure, and attentive. If you remain close to me, even upheaval will not consume you. It will simply become a tool drawing you deeper into truth. And when everything is past, you will look back and realize that what once made you tremble was not the end of your story, but the Father's hand upon your shoulder, turning you away from the edge of destruction and leading you back onto the bright path where I had been waiting for you all along. Beloved child, do not be too quick to interpret the shaking before you as a sign that I have turned my face away. Some things, when seen through human eyes, appear to be chaos, but when placed beneath my light, they are invitations to return. Loving hands resting upon your shoulder before you wander too far from peace. I do not awaken your soul in order to spread fear, nor to make you live in anxious anticipation of disaster. I am simply doing what a loving father always does, awakening the child. He loves when that child has fallen asleep in a place that is no longer safe. I have loved you with an everlasting love. Therefore, I have drawn you with loving kindness. As Jeremiah 31:3 declares, so if you feel your heart being drawn closer to me in these days, understand that it is not bondage, it is grace, gently bringing you back to where you belong. Perhaps the road before you will not be completely clear. Perhaps some things you once held with certainty will no longer remain as stable as you expected. Perhaps a door, a relationship, a plan, or an old vision of the future must be laid down so that you may step into something deeper that I have prepared for you. But child, the darkness you pass through does not have the authority to define your destiny. It is only a valley along the journey, not the burial place of my promises. When David said, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. In Psalm 63, Nelia, he was not saying that valleys do not exist. He was declaring that my presence is greater than the valley itself. The same is true for you. Your peace does not come because no winds are blowing, but because the one who holds the winds is walking beside you. I want you to understand something deeply. What determines whether you are swept away is not the strength of the waves, but the place where your soul is anchored. If you stand in me, upheaval may shake what needs to be shaken, but it cannot steal the identity I have placed within you. If you remain close to me, what seems like a disadvantage may become a new pathway. What appears to be loss may become freedom. And what seems to be closing may actually be my hand shielding you from a direction that no longer belongs to you. Everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house upon the rock. As Matthew 7:24-25 reminds you, the rain may fall, the floods may rise, and the winds may blow fiercely. Yet that house will not collapse because its foundation was not built upon sand. Let me become that rock within you, not only in your words, but in every decision, every response, every fear you surrender back into my hands. Remember Noah, beloved child, before the rain ever began to fall, I was not silent. I spoke, I instructed, and I gave him a task that must have seemed strange in the eyes of a generation that could not understand what was coming. The ark was not built during the flood. It was prepared while the skies were still dry. To others, Such obedience may have appeared foolish, but in my eyes it was the wisdom of a man who knew how to listen before everything changed. When the waters rose, the ark did not make the storm disappear, but it preserved those who remained inside. Do you see? I do not always remove every flood from your life immediately, but I prepare a refuge within me so that what approaches cannot consume you. The obedience of today may become the ark that preserves you tomorrow. Therefore, learn to listen with a softened heart rather than with a mind that constantly demands proof. There are things I place within your spirit as very gentle warnings, a feeling that you should pause, a peace that suddenly disappears when you are about to step into a certain direction, a quiet urging to return to prayer before making a decision. Do not dismiss these holy signals. The peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds. As Philippians 4:7 declares, that peace is not a passing emotion, but a guard standing watch at the gate of your soul. When your peace begins to disappear, slow down. When my presence draws you into silence, do not rush to fill that silence with the noise of the world. Many times, I do not lead you through a detailed map, but through a deep peace or a deep unrest within your heart. Beloved child, I do not want you to enter what lies ahead with the posture of someone passive, helpless, or driven by circumstances. I want you to walk as a soul that has been guarded, knowing to whom you belong and whose hand is holding you. I will hold your right hand and say to you, do not fear, I will help you. As Isaiah 41:13 resounds like a living promise for you today. Do not allow your mind to magnify the darkness until you forget the light. Do not let unanswered questions cause you to doubt the love that has lifted you so many times before. I do not require you to understand every layer of meaning in this season. I ask only that you stay close to me, so close that my voice becomes clearer than confusion, and my presence becomes weightier than every pressure resting upon your heart. If I ask you to let go of something, do not think that I am making your life poorer. I am only removing from your hands what cannot go with you into the new season, or what would weigh you down when you need to move swiftly in obedience. Some things were blessings in a former season, but would become chains if you held on to them too long. Some places once served as shelter, but they are no longer where I desire your heart to remain. It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. As Galatians 5:1 reminds you, therefore, do not bind yourself again with regret, familiarity, or fear of loss. Whatever you place into my hands never disappears into emptiness. In my hands, surrender becomes sacred space where something better can be planted. Therefore, in this season of transition, stand still within me without becoming paralyzed. Stay awake without falling into panic. Remain humble without condemning yourself. I am calling you back to the center, where your soul no longer revolves around events, people, plans, or fears, but around me alone. When the unexpected happens, you will not need to shout in order to prove your strength. You will only need to remain in me. When the winds rise, you will know how to bow beneath the shadow of my wings. When night falls, you will remember that dawn never asks darkness for permission to appear. And when everything is past, you will look back with clearer eyes and realize I never left you for a single step. I used warnings, delays, losses, and even brief darkness to lead you into a place broader, deeper, and more beautiful than anything you once imagined. Beloved child, what I want you to understand first is not that you must become stronger in the eyes of the world, but that you must come closer to me in the hidden places of your heart. There are times when you think weakness is proof that you are failing. But in my light, the very place where you no longer have strength to hold yourself together can become the doorway through which grace enters more deeply. I do not require you to bring me a perfect face, flawless prayers, or a faith that has never trembled. I call you to me exactly as you are, weary, honest, sometimes confused, yet still deeply loved. When my word in Isaiah 30:15 says, "In repentance and rest is your salvation. In quietness and trust is your strength," I want you to know that some victories do not begin with triumphant shouting, but with the moment you stop running, sit before me, and allow your heart to breathe again within the presence of the Father. Do not fear silence, child, because I often heal you in places that are not loud. Your mind has listened to too many voices, voices of accusation, comparison, doubt, hostility, and pressure demanding that you prove you are still fine. But my voice does not drive your soul into chaos. My voice does not make you hide in shame, nor convince you that you have been left behind. When my son said in John 10:27, "My sheep hear my voice, I know them, and they follow me," it was an invitation for you to learn how to recognize the sound of life among the many counterfeit voices around you. Any voice that pulls you away from me, closes your heart, or causes you to see yourself through hopeless eyes does not come from me, but the voice that, even while correcting you, still opens the door to hope, the voice that, even while revealing truth, still covers you with love, the voice that calls you back without crushing you beneath condemnation, that is, the breath of the Father leading you back into the light. Remember Elijah in the cave. Beloved child, after standing before great confrontations, after witnessing fire from heaven and the display of my power, he fled in exhaustion, fear, and loneliness. He believed he had reached the end, believed he was the only one left standing. I believed the voice within him had been swallowed by darkness. Yet I did not come to him in the violent wind that tore through the mountains, nor in the earthquake, nor in the blazing fire. And after all these things came a still, gentle whisper, and there Elijah recognized that I was calling him. The story in 1 Kings 19 reminds you that I do not always awaken you through dramatic shaking. Many times I rescue you with a whisper soft enough to draw your soul out of the cave of despair. When you are so weary that you no longer know what to pray, simply remain with me. I can nourish you with bread from angels, allow you to rest beneath the shade of a tree, and then call you forward again with a gentle voice. Your heart will recognize the enemy of your soul does not always begin by destroying outward circumstances. Often he only needs to plant a single seed of doubt in the way you see me, and from there he teaches you to see yourself as someone forgotten. He wants you to interpret delay as abandonment, trials as punishment, and silence as distance between me and you. But I declared in Romans 8:38-39 that neither death nor life, neither powers, neither the present nor the future, can separate you from my love in Christ. Therefore, when thoughts arise that make your heart grow cold, do not sit and converse with them for too long. Bring them into the light. Let my word examine what your mind has been believing. Speak to your soul and remind it that the Father does not change according to your emotions. And my love does not diminish simply because today you feel weaker than yesterday. There are questions that are not immediately answered, not because I am indifferent, but because I am teaching you a trust deeper than understanding. You often want peace to arrive only after everything has been fully explained. Yet, I desire to give you a peace that can remain standing even when answers have not yet appeared. The peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds. As Philippians 4:7 declares, that peace is not a fragile emotion, but a holy fortress protecting the inner places of your soul. When your mind begins running in circles, stop before me. When your heart begins condemning itself, Remember that I am not inviting you into a courtroom of shame, but into the banquet hall of grace. And when your faith feels like only a small flame trembling in the wind, place it within my hands. For I do not break a bruised reed or extinguish a smoldering wick. Therefore, return to me, not under the pressure of presenting yourself as someone who has already conquered every battle, but with a heart longing to live in truth. I do not need you to construct a polished version of yourself in order to be accepted by me. I have known you in the deepest hidden places, seen the corners of your heart that learn to defend themselves, heard the sighs you hide behind your smiles. And after knowing all of it, I still call you beloved. Psalm 139 says that I know when you sit and when you rise, and understand your thoughts from afar. That knowledge is not meant to control you through fear, but to hold you in complete safety. When you dare to live honestly before me, the masks begin to fall away, and you will rediscover the person I created before pain taught you to hide yourself. Now hold tightly to me in the very places where you feel most fragile. Do not allow weariness to become distance. Do not allow doubt to become a false refuge. Do not allow dark voices to rewrite the story upon which I placed grace from the very beginning. I am your rock, your fortress, your refuge, as Psalm 18:2 declares. Within me there is protection. No scheme can penetrate while you remain in my presence. Draw closer, not because you have become strong enough, but because I am your strength. Become quieter, not because the battle has disappeared, but because you have learned that the deepest battle belongs to me. And within that rest, you will hear me speak once again, gently yet unshakably. I am still here. I am still holding you, and my love has never departed from your soul. Beloved child, do not allow your soul to be pulled into fear over things that have not yet taken shape. There may only be clouds forming on the horizon, yet your mind has already built an entire storm within your heart. I do not want you to live like someone threatened by tomorrow, because tomorrow still rests in my hands. What I have placed within you is not a spirit that trembles at every movement, but a light born from my life within you, a light that does not depend on the weather of circumstances. When my word declares, "The Lord is my light and my salvation, whom shall I fear?" in Psalm 27:1. It is not a sentence for you to read and forget, but an anchor for your soul whenever darkness tries to make everything uncertain. You do not need to see the entire road in order to continue walking. I only ask that you step into the portion of light I am giving you today. A soul that trusts is not a soul that never sees the wind. It is a soul that keeps walking because it knows its Father is holding the lamp ahead. I know there are things in your life right now that make you feel as though you are standing before a door too heavy to open, a valley too deep to cross, or a battle greater than your strength. But child, what appears most frightening is not always what is truly dangerous. Often the real danger begins when you allow fear to replace my voice within your heart. The enemy of your soul does not only want to exhaust you through outward circumstances, he wants you to doubt my goodness, to interpret silence as absence, trials as abandonment, and waiting as failure. Yet I declared in Romans 8:31, if God is for us, who can be against us? Let that truth stand guard at the entrance of your mind. Every voice that pulls you away from me, that drives you into hopelessness, that makes you see yourself as forgotten, does not carry my breath. My voice may correct you, may warn you, may even cause you to stop for a moment. But my voice always leads toward life, always opens the door to hope, and always draws you closer to the unchanging love of the Father. Remember the servant of Elisha. Beloved child, when enemy armies surrounded the city, all he could see were horses, chariots, and weapons, and terror filled his heart. But Elisha did not see with the same vision. He prayed, "Lord, open his eyes so that he may see," as told in 2 Kings 6. And when the servant's eyes were opened, he saw the mountains filled with horses and chariots of fire surrounding Elisha. Do you see? The outward circumstances had not immediately changed, but the inward vision had been rescued from fear. Perhaps today you too are counting what surrounds you more than you are recognizing my protection. Perhaps you are measuring obstacles while forgetting that heaven has never stood far away. Therefore, I am not merely asking you to become braver. I want to open the eyes of your soul so that you may realize that what is with you is greater than what stands against you. Do not view trials as fires permitted to consume your identity. If I allow you to pass through fire, that fire will never have authority to destroy what I have placed within you. It is only permitted to burn away the straw and chaff that no longer belong to your new life. Gold does not shine brighter because it remains in comfort, but because impurities are separated from it through heat. In the same way, there are seasons when I use pressure to reveal genuine faith, not to exhaust you, but to bring you into a steadiness no longer dependent upon passing emotions. James 1, 2-4 teaches you to count it all joy when facing various trials, because the testing of faith produces perseverance, and perseverance makes you complete, lacking nothing. You do not need to pretend that the fire is not hot, that the valley is not dark, or that the battle is not real. But you must remember that I am more real than all of those things. My hand is able to use the very place you believed was the end in order to plant a beginning your heart has never yet imagined. Sometimes the very thing you fear most becomes the stage upon which my power is revealed most clearly. Human eyes looked at the size of Goliath and concluded that victory was impossible. Yet I looked at the heart of David and saw a man who placed my name above his fear. But today I want you to look at another story. Gideon. He hid while threshing wheat in a winepress because he feared the enemy. Yet I called him a mighty warrior, not because he already felt strong, but because I could see what grace was able to accomplish through a person willing to obey. In Judges 6, I did not begin with a vast army or magnificent weapons. I began with a trembling man whom I greeted with the name of his destiny. The same is true for you. I do not call you according to your present fear. I call you according to what I have placed within you. Do not let feelings of smallness convince you that I cannot use your life. A person in my hands does not need to resemble the mighty of this world in order to walk into the victories of heaven. Therefore, when your heart begins to waver, return to the place I have prepared for you within my presence. Do not try to fight through tension, through endless thoughts, or through exhausting attempts to control every outcome. Fight by remaining in me. Let your prayer sometimes be nothing more than a breath of trust. Father, I belong to you. When your mind tries to run toward dark possibilities, bring it back beneath the authority of my word. 2 Corinthians Des 5 speaks of taking every thought captive to obey Christ. This is not cold forcefulness, but the act of restoring the rightful king to the throne of your heart. Fear wants to reign, but it has no right to sit upon the throne that belongs to me alone. Confusion wants to prophesy over your future, but your future is not written by darkness. It rests in the hands of the one who has called you by name, and one day you will look back upon this season with different eyes. What tightens your heart today may later become proof that I was protecting you more carefully than you realized. The place where you felt trapped may turn out to have been the very place where I shielded you from the wrong road. The closed door may have been a wall guarding you from a far greater sorrow, and the battle you once feared may become the place where you discover that my grace is not only enough to comfort you, but enough to keep you standing. I do not stand far away telling you not to fear. I walk into the fire with you, just as I stood beside the 3 young men in the blazing furnace, so that when others looked in, they did not only see flames, but the presence of the deliverer. Beloved child, keep the light alive within your heart. Walk today's portion of the journey in dependence upon me. Remember that circumstances do not have the authority to define who you are. I alone speak the final word over your life, and my word over you is life, protection, hope, and a peace no darkness can extinguish. Beloved child, there are thresholds in life that are not recognized by the eyes, but are deeply sensed by the soul. You may still be walking through familiar days, hearing familiar sounds, and carrying out ordinary tasks. Yet deep within, I am stirring something you can no longer pretend not to hear. This is not instability sent to frighten you. It is my gentle call, drawing you out of a place too small for what I have planted within you. Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. Say, I am doing a new thing. As Isaiah 43:18-19 declares, not so that you will despise the old journey, but so that you may understand that what sustained you in one season may no longer be wide enough for the season I am now opening before you. I do not lead you to a new doorway so that you may stand there forever in hesitation. I call you to step through it with a heart willing to trust that the one calling you is also the one who will keep you safe. But child, stepping forward is not merely about changing outward circumstances. Some people leave a place yet continue carrying the same old fears, the same need for control, the same chains, and the same patterns of thinking within their hearts. I do not only want to redirect your path, I want to free the deepest parts of you from everything that has divided your soul. A heart that wants my guidance while still demanding control over every outcome will always remain weary. A soul that longs for light while still clinging to familiar darkness will always feel torn apart inside. Therefore, when my word in Psalm 37:5 says, "Commit your way to the Lord, trust also in Him," I am not inviting you to surrender only a small portion of your life while tightly holding onto the parts that frighten you most. I want you to place the entire road into my hands, the things you understand and the things you do not, the dreams you treasure and the plans you are still afraid to release. Remember Elisha, beloved child. When Elijah passed by and threw his mantle upon him, Elisha was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen. He was not standing in emptiness. He was not a man with nothing to lose. He had a rhythm of life, a livelihood, familiarity, and a future that seemed predictable. Yet, when my calling touched his life, he did not merely say with his lips that he wanted to follow. He turned back, slaughtered the oxen, burned the plowing equipment as fuel, cooked the meat, shared it with the people, and then rose up to follow Elijah. As recorded in 1 Kings 19, do you see? He transformed the tools of his old life into an offering of obedience. He left behind no rope that could easily pull him backward once the new journey became difficult. There are times when I call you in the same way, not merely to take another step, but to offer me the very yoke that once bound you to familiar security. This does not mean I despise what you have walked through before. I used many things in your former season to train you, protect you, and help you grow. But a vessel that has already been shaped cannot remain forever upon the potter's wheel. It must eventually be placed into the purpose for which the potter formed it. A seed cannot endlessly take pride in remaining safe within the palm of a hand. It must fall into the ground. Allow its shell to break, and only then can it bring forth life. The same is true for you. Do not fear when I touch the layers you once used to protect yourself. I am not taking away your identity. I am removing the things that have disguised themselves as your identity for far too long. When Jesus said, "No one who puts a hand to the plow and looks back is fit for the kingdom of God," in Luke 9:62, it was not a cold rejection, but a call to walk forward with a heart no longer dragged backward by the past. I know you may tremble when you hear the words, full surrender. You fear that if you release what you are holding, your life will become empty. But beloved child, a hand clenched tightly cannot receive what is new. A heart filled with old things has no room for the new wine I desire to pour in. New wine must be poured into new wineskins, as Luke 5:38 reminds you. And what I am doing within you is no different. I do not merely want to place a new blessing upon a life still controlled by old fears. I want to soften the wineskin of your heart, renew the way you trust, the way you listen, the way you respond, the way you love, and the way you surrender. When you allow me to renew you from within, what I give you will not cause you to burst under pressure, but will instead enlarge you through grace. Therefore, do not see this moment as the ending of everything you once knew, but as the dawn of the person I have seen within you from the very beginning. You may need to leave behind certain habits, certain attachments, certain desires that once appeared perfectly reasonable. But I never ask you to release something without a redemptive purpose behind it. When Paul said that he was forgetting what lies behind and pressing toward what lies ahead in Philippians 3:13-14, he was not denying his past. He was simply refusing to let the past rule over the calling set before him. You must learn that same freedom. Do not allow regret, disguised as sentimentality, to keep you in a place where I have already finished my work. Do not allow fear, pretending to be wisdom, to convince you that safety matters more than obedience. The safest place is not the place where you can control everything, but the place where you are fully within my will. When you truly choose me, not through beautiful promises spoken in an emotional moment, but through the small daily decisions not to walk against my calling, I will open your eyes to things you could not see before. There are doors I have already prepared, but you will only recognize them when your heart is no longer divided. There are people I desire for you to touch, but that light can only flow through a life that has allowed me to purify it. There are depths of peace, wisdom, and power that you do not enter by striving to prove yourself, but by remaining in me. Abide in me, and I in you. As John Kintz, Cuatro de Clares. Because a branch does not force itself to bear fruit through tension. It bears fruit because it remains connected to the vine. In the same way, you do not need to force yourself to become a source of light. Stay close to me, and my light will naturally shine through you. Now, beloved child, be courageous enough to step across this threshold. Do not step forward with the pride of someone who believes they are prepared for everything, but with the humility of a child who knows their father can be trusted. Do not carry only half your heart into the new season, for I do not want you living divided, walking forward while still being pulled backward. Give me what you fear losing, what you do not yet understand, what you are still trying to hide, what you believe would leave you empty if released. In my hands. Surrender does not make you poorer. It opens the way for you to receive a fuller life. And as you walk in that surrender, you will discover that I am not only leading you out of the old, but also shaping you into a living testimony, a soul renewed, illuminated, and sent forth so that my love may reach places still covered in darkness. Step forward. Beloved child, I am before you to make the way, beside you to sustain you, within you to give light, and behind you to close the doors that no longer have the right to call you back. Beloved child, before you try to prove that you are worthy of being loved, stop and rest in this truth. I loved you before you knew how to do anything that would earn recognition. My love did not begin when you became strong, nor does it withdraw when you become weak. I did not create you to live like a fearful servant standing before a throne, always terrified that one mistake might cast you away. I created you to know that you have a Father, a God who calls you by name, a God who does not see you as a shadow lost in a crowd, but as a soul cherished before the days of your life were even written. When Jeremiah 1:5 says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you." Let those words sink deeply into the parts of your heart that once believed you were invisible. You are not an accident drifting through a vast world. You are my intention, a breath I allowed to enter time, a life carrying a mark that no one else can replace. I know there have been seasons when you mistakenly believed that to come near me, you had to hide the most exhausted parts of yourself. You thought I only wanted polished prayers, steady footsteps, and songs of praise that never trembled. But child, I am not moved by the image you try to construct. I am moved by a heart willing to open itself in truth. When my son said, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest," in Matthew 11:28, those words were not spoken to people who had already repaired all their brokenness before approaching me. They were spoken for the one who is sighing, exhausted, and unsure where to begin again. I do not ask you to make yourself lighter before coming to me. I ask you to bring the burden itself, so that my hands may touch the places where you have been straining for far too long. Remember Hagar in the wilderness. Beloved child, she was not standing in the temple, nor surrounded by crowds lifting her up, nor was there anyone calling her name with tenderness as she fled in despair. She was simply a wounded woman, lost in carrying fear and the feeling of abandonment within her heart. Yet it was there, in the desolation, that I met her beside the spring of water, called to her, and heard her suffering, and she called me the God who sees me, as Genesis 16 recounts. Do you see? I do not seek you only when you are standing in bright and orderly places. I also seek you in the wilderness of your soul, where you believe no one knows how deeply you hurt. There are tears you wipe away quickly in silence. Yet I have seen them. There are nights when you do not even have the strength to explain your sorrow. Yet I have understood. I am the God who sees you not in order to expose you in shame, but to cover you with mercy. Therefore, do not allow feelings of smallness to deceive you about the true value of your life. The world often measures you by achievements, influence, position, attention from others, and outward appearances. But I measure by a different standard. I see what you quietly overcome. I see the faithfulness in tasks no one praises. I see the heart that still desires to do good even after being wounded. I see the effort it takes for you to rise again after moments when your soul believed hope had run dry. When Psalm 56:8 says that I keep record of your wanderings and collect your tears in my bottle, understand this: not one tear you have shed has ever fallen into forgetfulness. The things the world overlooks are often the very places where I am writing testimonies of grace. A soul loved by me does not need to be loud in order to matter. Your very existence carries weight before me, because I, myself, breathed life into you. Perhaps you have grown accustomed to carrying too much upon your shoulders, the expectations of others, self-condemnation, fear of disappointing people, memories that have never fully healed, and the pressure to always appear strong. But I did not create your shoulders to carry burdens that only my hands are strong enough to hold. Some burdens, if you continue embracing them, will not make you holier. They will only bend your soul beneath exhaustion. My word in Psalm 55:22 says, "Cast your burden on the Lord, and He will sustain you." And this is not a distant suggestion, but a true invitation to lay them down. Laying them down does not mean you are weak. It means you have finally recognized what belongs to you and what belongs to the Father. You are called to trust, not to control everything. You are called to walk with me, not to hold up the entire sky by yourself. I am not ashamed of the fragile places within you. Often, you are the one ashamed of them. You hide your wounds because you fear being seen as lacking faith. You hide your tears because you fear being called weak. You hide your exhaustion because you fear disappointing others. But before me, truth does not strip away your dignity. Truth opens the door for healing. When 2 Corinthians 12:9 says that my power is made perfect in weakness, it does not mean I delight in your pain, but that even the places you most want to hide can become the places where my grace shines most brightly. Stop treating weakness as an enemy. Let it become the place where you meet me more deeply, where you learn that you are not sustained by your own strength, but by the steadfast love of the Father that never grows weary. Beloved child, I am not seeking worship born from fear of punishment, but worship flowing from a heart that is finally understood it is loved. When you realize that I carried you through dark seasons, walked beside you on roads no one else saw, and lifted you even when you lacked the strength to call my name, your heart will naturally soften. Then praise will no longer feel like a heavy obligation, but like the breathing of a soul rescued from loneliness. Perfect love casts out fear. As 1 John 4:18 says, I want that love to dissolve the false image you once carried of me. I am not a distant God waiting for you to fail. I am the Father who runs toward you, bends down beside you, wipes the dust from your face, and reminds you that you still belong to me. So today, let your heart stop defending itself. Let me enter the places you locked away because you believed that if anyone truly saw them, they would no longer love you. I have already seen them, child, and I still love you. I know both the parts of you that you are proud of and the parts you try to hide, the pure dreams and the silent fears, the laughter you wear during the day and the battles you fight through the night. Nothing within you surprises me, and no fracture in your soul lies beyond my ability to heal. Come closer, not as someone presenting accomplishments, but as a child returning to the arms of the Father. I will not break a bruised reed, nor extinguish a smoldering wick. I will lift you with mercy, lighten your shoulders with peace, and teach you to live again in this gentle truth. You have not been forgotten. You are not meaningless. You were never meant to carry everything alone, for I have called you mine, and my love for you has never changed. Beloved child, before you ever see change with your outward eyes, I want you to allow your soul to rest in this truth. I began touching your life long ago, even in the seasons when you believed you were merely surviving one day at a time. There were moments when you thought you had been left alone in a dark room unseen by anyone. Yet I was there quietly sustaining your breath, keeping your heart from completely closing, preserving a small spark of hope so it would not be extinguished by the winds of sorrow. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. As Psalm 34:18 declares, therefore, do not believe that your weakest moments are the moments when I am far away. No, it is often in the places where you no longer have strength to pretend that I draw nearest to you with my deepest tenderness. I know there are pains within you that have lived beneath the surface for far too long. Others may see you working, smiling, and moving through life as though everything is fine. But I hear the fractures hidden in the deepest places of your soul. Some wounds leave no marks upon the body, yet they make you weary of trusting, cautious of being loved, afraid to hope because disappointment has visited you too many times before. You have grown accustomed to bandaging yourself with silence, to covering emptiness with busyness, to saying I'm fine while your soul is simply trying not to collapse. But beloved child, I do not only see your smile, I also see the tears that have not yet fallen. I do not only hear spoken prayers, I understand even the sighs you do not know how to offer. Therefore, do not rush to conclude that painful years have ruined you forever. In my hands, even what appears shattered can be rebuilt into a beautiful testimony of grace. When Isaiah 61:3 says that I give beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and garments of praise instead of a spirit of heaviness, those words are not decorations for easy days. They are promises for souls that have walked through deep nights. I do not deny your ashes. I do not ask you to pretend that loss never wounded you, but I possess the power to do what the world cannot do, to turn the very places once burned by fire into ground where new life can grow again. Remember the woman who suffered from bleeding for 12 years. Beloved child, she spent everything she had, endured endless disappointments, and lived at the edge of society carrying pain that wounded both body and soul. Perhaps she had grown accustomed to the looks of rejection, accustomed to feeling she no longer belonged, accustomed to a life defined by her condition. Yet, in one small moment of faith, she reached out and touched the garment of my son. And what years of striving could not heal was restored within holy presence. Jesus did not allow her to disappear anonymously into the crowd. He called her daughter and declared that her faith had made her whole. Do you see? I do not only want to heal your wounds, I want to restore your identity. I do not only want your pain to cease, I want you to know that you are still beloved, still called by name, still seen, even in the middle of crowds that seem unable to notice you. Perhaps right now, you do not understand why certain roads must be so long, why some prayers remain unanswered in the way you hoped, or why healing sometimes arrives layer by layer instead of all at once. But child, I am not slow because I am indifferent. I am working deeper than what your eyes can currently perceive. If I only wiped away outward tears without touching the root of your fear, you would simply hurt again in another form. If I only changed your circumstances without renewing the way you see yourself, you would still carry chains within a larger room. Therefore, allow me to heal you completely, not only your memories, but your reactions, not only your sorrow, but also the lies you have believed about your worth. If the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. As John 8:36 declares, the freedom I give is not merely escape from what hurt you, but release from its power to rule you from within. One day you will look back in amazement and realize that I was present in every detail you once failed to notice. You will understand that there were moments when I did not immediately calm the storm, yet I kept you from sinking. There were times when I did not answer with thunder, but instead sent a person, a scripture, a peaceful sleep, or just enough strength for that single day. There were seasons when you believed you were only crawling through darkness. Yet in truth, I was teaching you how to hold my hand when human lights had disappeared. And when your tears fall in that future day, they will no longer carry the bitterness of despair. They will become tears of understanding, gratitude, and wonder from a soul that has finally realized how faithfully it has been loved. Now be still for a moment before me. Do not rush to find explanations for everything. Do not analyze every wound as though you must fully understand it before you are allowed to heal. Let my presence cover you before your mind tries to control the process of restoration. Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for Him. As Psalm 37:7 reminds you, because there are things that grow only within holy waiting. Dawn does not need you to pull it up over the horizon. It arrives at the appointed hour I have already chosen. Your restoration is the same. I do not forget the timing. I do not mistake the season. I know when to shelter you beneath my wings, when to remove the bandages from your wounds, and when to call you to rise and walk out from the place that once held you captive. Therefore, your long night is not the final word over your life. Weariness is not your identity. Broken pieces are not your true name. I am doing a deeply personal work within you, not to impress crowds, but so that you may truly know how real the Father's love is. I will not merely raise you up so that you can continue living as before. I will renew you with light, with peace, and with the gentle courage of someone healed from within. And through you, others will come to understand that no darkness is so deep that my hand cannot reach it, no wound so old that my grace cannot touch it, and no soul so shattered that I cannot embrace it, restore it, and cause it to shine again within my everlasting love. Beloved child, before you conclude that the things which have grown cold within your heart no longer have a chance to live again, be still and listen as I speak to the deepest places within you. I have never forgotten the seeds I planted. There are dreams now covered by the dust of time, by disappointments, by doors that remained silent for too long, until you slowly stop mentioning them in your prayers. But the silence of the soil does not mean the seed has died. A long winter cannot cancel the command of spring if I have already spoken life over it. When my word says, "Those who sow in tears shall reap with songs of joy," in Psalm 126, I want you to understand that your tears have never been wasted in my hands. Some tears have fallen like quiet rain upon the dry ground of your soul, and at the appointed time I have chosen, the very places you believed were empty will begin to sprout with the green shoots of new hope. I know there have been days when you no longer dared to hope too much, because hope itself once wounded you when what you longed for did not arrive the way you expected. You learned to shrink your dreams, lower your expectations, and tell yourself, perhaps this is enough, while deep inside there remained a quiet sigh that never fully disappeared. But child, I am not calling you back to hope in order to disappoint you again. I am calling you back to me, the source of hope that does not put you to shame. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing. As Romans 15:13 declares, the hope I give is not fragile optimism built upon favorable circumstances, but living water rising from a place deeper than fear. When I breathe life into your heart, I am not merely warming a passing emotion, I am awakening once more your ability to trust, your ability to love, and your ability to keep walking with a peace the world cannot give. Remember the valley of dry bones that I showed to the prophet Ezekiel. Before him was not a garden waiting to bloom, but a valley filled with scattered bones, very dry, very silent, very much like an irreversible ending. Yet I asked him, "Can these bones live?" As recorded in Ezekiel 37, when my word was spoken over what seemed dead, bone came together with bone, tendons and flesh formed, skin covered them, and then breath entered them until a living army stood upright. Do you see? I do not require circumstances to appear promising in order to act. I can speak over the driest places, touch what is most broken apart, and call life back into places where everyone else has stopped expecting anything to happen. Therefore, do not treat the barren places within your heart as the final evidence of defeat. Bring them before me, because what you call emptiness, I can transform into a place where the power of restoration is revealed. But beloved child, the restoration I desire for you is not merely an emotional moment that makes you cry today only to return tomorrow to the same old burdens. I want to go deeper than that. I want to touch the rhythm of your daily life, the way you wake up, the way you rest, the way you work, the way you face pressure, the way you see yourself when no one is beside you to encourage you. There is a kind of weariness that does not appear on the face, yet leaves the soul heavy like stone. There is an exhaustion that cannot be healed merely by more time, but only by my presence reaching the roots of it. When my Son declared, "I came that they may have life, and have it abundantly. In John 10:10, he was not simply promising survival. He was inviting you into a life nourished from within, where you no longer have to strain through every day as though everything depends solely upon your own strength. I care even about the deeply human limitations within you. I see when your body is weary, when your mind spins in circles, when your heart needs rest, yet you still force yourself to stand because you believe stopping would mean weakness. But child, resting in me is not escaping responsibility, it is returning to the true source of strength. Even the bravest soldier must be bandaged after battle, and even the field that longs to bear fruit must receive seasons of watering. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. As Matthew 11:28 declares, is not a distant invitation, but open arms stretched toward you today. I do not despise your exhaustion. I do not condemn you for those moments when you only have enough strength left to whisper a short prayer. I receive even that whisper, and from there I begin renewing your soul. And little by little, you will begin to notice that your steps are no longer the same, not because every hardship disappears overnight, but because within you there is now a new source holding you up. Before, you walked like someone always waiting for disaster to arrive. Now, you are learning to walk like someone who knows they are covered and protected. Before, you looked toward the future through weary eyes. Now you are beginning to see light entering places once filled with fear. The Lord God is my strength. He makes my feet like the feet of a deer and enables me to walk upon the heights. As Habakkuk 3:19 says, the new strength I give you is not merely so you can survive another day, but so you may rise with a new quality of spirit, gentle, yet not fragile, humble, yet not hopeless, peaceful, yet not passive, steady because you have learned to lean upon me. Therefore, beloved child, do not bury hope simply because it was delayed. Do not call your heart barren just because you have passed through a season without visible fruit. I am still the one who can bring streams into the wilderness, restore songs to lips once silenced by grief, and fill a soul that believed itself empty with life once again. Let me breathe new breath into you. Let me remove the weariness that has rested upon your shoulders for far too long. Let me teach you how to slow down within grace, work within peace, hope within trust, and rest without condemning yourself. One day, you will look back and realize that I did not merely help you survive the dry season. I used the dry season itself to drive your roots deeper, and from there, you will rise not through the strength of fear, but through the new life of a soul restored within everlasting love. Beloved child, I do not restore you merely so that you may stand again for your own sake, and then close your heart within a small and safe life. When I heal you, I also place within you a spring of living water. When I lift you from darkness, I also light a lamp within you when I pour peace into your soul. I do not want that peace to become a stagnant pond, but a gentle river flowing toward those around you who are dry and weary. Rivers of living water will flow from within them. As John 7:38 declares, and you must understand that the life I give is not meant to remain hidden only within you, but to flow through you so that other souls may also feel that I am still near, still merciful, still healing in a world so full of exhaustion. Perhaps you once believed you were too small to become an answer for someone else. But child, many times I do not need a loud voice. I only need a heart willing to soften, a hand willing to reach out, a word willing to carry love instead of judgment. Therefore, guard your words as someone guards precious seeds before planting them into the earth. Every sentence you speak carries spiritual weight. It can either lighten another soul or deepen its pain. A gentle word spoken at the right moment can become a warm garment for a trembling spirit. A small encouragement can keep someone from stepping into the depths of despair. A willingness to listen without interrupting, without rushing to correct, without humiliating the weak, can become the very place where I pour healing oil. My word in Proverbs 18:21 says that life and death are in the power of the tongue, not to make you fearful of every sound you utter, but to awaken you to the truth that your mouth can become an instrument of grace. Let your words carry the fragrance of life, so that when people walk away from conversations with you, they remember not only what you said, but feel that my heart gently touched them through you. But beloved child, love does not live only upon the lips. True love knows how to bend low, how to pause, how to slow its pace beneath the hurried rhythm of the crowd in order to notice the one forgotten along the roadside of life. The world often celebrates those who move quickly, achieve greatly, stand out, and remain visible. But within my kingdom, greatness is often found in the person willing to stop beside a wounded soul. When my son declared that whatever you do for one of the least of his brothers and sisters, you do for him. As written in Matthew 25:40, understand that no act of mercy is ever insignificant before me. A meal given quietly, a message sent to someone nearly forgotten, a moment when you choose forgiveness instead of revenge, a decision to remain beside someone breaking apart instead of leaving for your own comfort. All these things can become my hand touching the world through your life. Remember Tabitha, also called Dorcas, in Acts 9. Beloved child, she was not described as someone standing before crowds preaching fiery sermons, nor was she known through power or great fame. Yet she was full of good works and acts of charity. Her hands sewed garments for widows, and her life quietly covered the vulnerable with tangible care. When she died, the widows stood around Peter weeping, showing him the tunics and garments she had made while she was still alive. Do you see? The small stitches of love became a great testimony before me. A quiet life filled with mercy can leave deeper marks than many loud voices seeking attention. And when I raised her back to life, it was not only a miracle upon her body, it was also my affirmation that I treasure the seemingly small acts of kindness done with a heart that belongs to me. Do not think that once I bless you, the journey is complete. Many times what you call a miracle is only the doorway into a deeper calling. I do not rescue you from darkness so that you may return to building walls around the light you received. I do not pour oil upon your wounds so that you may forget those who are still bleeding in silence. Comfort others with the comfort you yourselves have received from God. As 2 Corinthians 1:4 teaches, therefore, what I heal within you can become the language through which you understand others. The nights you once spent weeping may teach you how to sit beside someone who is crying without offering empty words. The seasons when you were afraid may teach you how to speak patiently to someone who trembles with fear. The times I lifted you up may transform you into a witness that no one is destined to remain forever in the place where they once fell. There may be times when I lead you close to places you once wanted to avoid. Bitter hearts, rooms filled with despair, people who have forgotten how to believe in goodness. Do not fear, because I do not send you as a lamp burning by its own strength. I am the oil within your lamp, the breath within your words, the strength hidden inside your weakness. When I told Joshua, "Be strong and courageous, do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." As Joshua 1:9 says, those words also remind you that my presence is not confined to peaceful places of worship, but goes with you into the places most desperate for light. You do not need to become perfect before I can use you. You only need to remain close to me, willing to keep your heart from becoming hardened, willing to obey when I whisper for you to love just a little more. I know there are moments when you look at the needs surrounding you and feel painfully small. You see the suffering of the world as too great, the loneliness of humanity as too deep, the darkness as too heavy, and you wonder whether your words or your small actions could possibly change anything. But child, I am not asking you to carry the entire world upon your shoulders. That belongs to me. Your part is simply to remain faithful with the light I have placed in your hands today. A candle does not need to defeat the whole night in order to matter. It only needs to shine where it has been placed. Let your light shine before others. As Matthew 5:16 declares, not so that you will be praised, but so that people may see good works and recognize the Father in heaven. When you live this way, your life becomes a moving prayer, a sermon that does not need loudness, a small doorway through which my love enters the lives of others. Therefore, beloved child, place into my hands even your weakness, your fear of not being enough, your awkwardness when you long to do good but do not know where to begin. I am not searching within you for greatness according to the world's standards. I am searching for a heart willing to let me reign within it. Let the light you have received continue shining outward, not with display, not through force, not seeking recognition, but steadily and purely, like dawn passing through a small window. Speak words that carry life. Do good quietly. Pause beside the forgotten. Share the peace I have placed within you. For when you give away what I have given you, you will not become poorer. The spring within you will only flow more freely. And through a life that loves in this way, many souls will realize that I am still walking among them, not through distant thunder, but through the hands, words, and heart of a child I have healed and sent forth in grace. Beloved child, there are moments when your heart grows so weary that even prayer becomes short and broken. Like a faint breath in the middle of a long night, you look upward and wonder why heaven seems silent, why the questions within you continue echoing without answers, returning. But I want you to know that silence is not always distance. Sometimes I am silent not because I have departed, but because I am doing a work deeper than words can explain. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. As Exodus 14:14 declares, that stillness is not abandonment, but the place where you learn to place your burdens back into the hands of the one who holds authority over the sea itself. When you cannot clearly hear my voice, do not quickly conclude that I am no longer near. Many times I am so close that if you would only stop trembling for a moment, you would begin to feel the rhythm of my peace settling gently upon your soul. I do not love you the way the world loves. The world often measures you by achievement, stability, outward strength, and your ability to avoid stumbling. But I do not see you as a report that must meet every requirement before being accepted. I see you as the child I have called by name, as the soul I loved before you ever learned how to prove yourself. When Romans 5:8 reminds you that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us, understand that my love did not begin after you became lovable in your own eyes. I loved you while you were still unfinished, still wandering, still carrying fears and fractures within you. Therefore, the days when you feel disappointed in yourself do not cause me to withdraw my mercy. The moments when you believe you have nothing beautiful left to offer me are often the very moments when I invite you closer, so that you may understand grace is not a reward for the perfect, but life given to those willing to return home. Perhaps you are carrying questions within your heart that you are afraid to speak aloud, as though your doubts would grieve me and cause me to turn away from you. But child, I do not expect you to pretend to be steady while your soul trembles within. I am large enough to hear the things you have not dared to tell anyone else. Remember Thomas after my son rose from the dead. He could not believe simply because others spoke about it. He needed to touch the wounds, to see the marks, to encounter a presence powerful enough to break through the wall of doubt inside him. And my son did not despise him, reject him, or call him unworthy. He entered the room where the disciples had locked themselves away in fear, stood among them, and said, "Peace be with you." Then offered his wounds so that Thomas might believe. Do you see? I am not afraid of the truth hidden in your heart. I am not afraid of your questions. I simply do not want you to let doubt pull you away from the arms already waiting to hold you. When storms rise around your life, your mind may scream that you are alone. Circumstances may convince you that your boat is too small, the waves too high, the night too long, and your faith no more than a fading lamp. But I want you to look deeper than the sound of the wind. There are storms that are not calm the moment you wish. Yet that does not mean I am absent from the boat. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. As Psalm 23:4 declares, does not deny the darkness. It proclaims that my presence is greater than the darkness. You do not need to be strong at all times in order to be held by me. A child does not need to understand the road home in order to be carried by the Father. The child only needs to reach out. In the same way, when you no longer have strength to walk steadily, turn your heart toward me. I will not condemn you for trembling. I will hold even that trembling within my peace. Do not allow the enemy to turn one stumble into a sentence over your entire life. He wants you to believe that after failure you are disqualified forever, that after one wrong choice you can no longer be used, that after one weak night my love has somehow changed color. But that is not my voice. My voice may correct you, but it never crushes hope. My voice may expose sin, but it always opens the way home again. If we confess our sins, He is faithful and just to forgive us our sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. As 1 John 1:9 declares, therefore, do not hide from me in shame. Run toward me instead. Shame tells you to conceal yourself, but grace calls you into the light. And in that light, you are not destroyed, you are healed. I see the nights when you quietly battle with yourself. I see the moments when you force a smile so others will not worry, while deep inside you only wish someone would tell you that you no longer have to hold everything together alone. I see the times you pray with a mind full of confusion, not even knowing what you are asking for, except the strength to survive one more day. Beloved child, I do not despise those small prayers. A bruised reed He will not break, and a smoldering wick He will not snuff out. As Isaiah 42:3 declares, I did not come to extinguish the fragile faith still flickering within you, but to shield it from the wind until it burns brightly again. If today all you can whisper is, Father, please hold me, even that prayer has touched my heart. I do not require perfect words from you. I desire your honesty. Therefore, do not think you must repair everything within yourself before you are allowed to come near me. Come exactly as you are, with tears not yet dried, with questions still unanswered, with faith still trembling alongside fear, with a love for me that sometimes feels weak and unsteady. I am not standing at the end of the road waiting for you to crawl toward me in exhaustion. I am already walking toward you now. Draw near to God, and He will draw near to you. As James 4:8 gently invites you today, let me remove from your shoulders the burden of always proving that you are fine. Let me teach you that being loved is not a reward reserved for the strongest version of yourself, but your identity within me. You belong to me when you stand firm, and you still belong to me when you fall and choose to return. And one day, you will look back upon these silent seasons with different eyes. You will realize that in the moments you believed I was farthest away, I was quietly holding you closest. In the storms you feared you would never survive, I had already set boundaries for the waves, In the times you felt disappointed in yourself, I never changed the way I called you, my beloved child. And in the nights when your faith felt as thin as a thread, my mercy was the hand that kept that thread from breaking. Rest in me, child. Let this truth cover your mind like healing oil upon a wound. I do not abandon you because you are weak. I do not withdraw because you have questions. And I do not stop loving you because you have stumbled. I am here, still reaching toward you, still calling your name, still great enough to hold both your faith and your trembling, until your soul learns once again how to rest peacefully within the unchanging love of the Father. Beloved child, I do not call you near to me dressed in the garments of perfection, nor do I wait for you to arrange every broken piece before opening my arms to receive you. What I seek is not a polished appearance of spirituality before human eyes, but a heart that still trembles before truth, a soul still willing to open itself honestly before me without decorating itself with beautiful words. There are souls who speak much about me while their hearts stand far away in pride, and there are children who can offer only one choked cry in the middle of the night. Yet that single cry reaches the deepest places of heaven. The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart. O God, you will not despise. As Psalm 51:17 declares, because I am not captivated by outward noise, but by what is truly alive within your heart. When you come before me as your true self, with faith that still trembles, with love that still carries wounds, with longing that still lives beside many limitations, I do not turn away from you. I bend closer, because wherever honesty exists, my grace has room to flow. Do not think of me as a distant God merely observing your life from a place too high to touch. I am the Father walking beside you in the most ordinary hours. Even in the quiet moments you think hold nothing sacred, I am with you when you wake carrying a heavy heart, when you perform familiar tasks that seem meaningless, when you move through a long day without anyone noticing how tired your soul has become. My presence does not belong only to temples, worship songs, or moments of overflowing emotion. I am also in the small kitchen, in the road you travel, in the sighs you hide, in those moments when you no longer know how to pray except by sitting silently before me. When my son told the Samaritan woman that the Father seeks those who worship in spirit and in truth, as John 4:23 says, it was a reminder that true worship is not confined to outward forms. It begins when you allow your life itself to become a place where I am welcome not only into the beautiful and orderly parts, but also into the places still messy, weary, and in need of healing. Remember Hannah, the woman who came before me carrying the deep pain within her soul. She did not have a polished prayer meant to impress others. Her lips only moved quietly in the temple as her heart poured itself out before me in silent bitterness. So much so that the priest Eli misunderstood her at first. But I did not misunderstand her tears. I heard what others could not hear, saw what others could not see, and from that prayer that barely had a voice, I opened a new story through Samuel, who would become a prophetic voice for an entire nation. Do you see? I do not require you to speak loudly in order for me to hear you. I do not require you to stand strong in order for me to notice you. Sometimes the weakest prayers are the moments when your soul is most honest before me. And it is precisely there that I begin doing things far beyond what you could ever create by your own strength. Therefore, do not try to live merely so you may be recognized as good, strong, or admirable. I desire for you to live as someone who belongs to me in every quiet choice you make. When Romans 12:1 calls you to offer your body as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God, it is not speaking only of a single moment of dedication through words, but of the way you walk each day. When you choose gentleness instead of bitterness, I see it. When you remain honest in small matters, no one else checks. I see it. When you forgive not because the other person deserves it, but because you do not want resentment ruling your soul. I see it. When you love someone difficult to love, when you show patience towards someone wounded, when you quietly do what is right without praise from anyone. Those things are never small before me. The world may celebrate only what shines brightly, but heaven also records the hidden victories where your heart chose light. Yet, beloved child, the blessings I pour into you are not meant for you to build walls around yourself. I heal you, so that through you, others may know healing is real. I comfort you, so that through you, the hopeless may still hear a gentle word. I place peace within you, so your life may become a small shelter for souls exhausted by storms. Do not neglect to do good and to share with others, for such sacrifices are pleasing to God. As Hebrews 13:16 reminds you, therefore, never underestimate a caring message, a meal shared with someone, a moment of listening without judgment, or a prayer spoken for another person that no one else ever hears. There are people who do not need you to preach a long sermon to them. They only need to encounter within you a love that does not rush to condemn, eyes that do not make them feel rejected, and a presence gentle enough to help them believe that I still care for them. Therefore, let your life flow outward, not through display, but through steadfast kindness. Do not wait until you have more before you begin giving. Do not wait until you are perfect before allowing yourself to become an instrument in my hands. I can use a pure word, a quiet act, a willing heart, a life that may seem unremarkable yet is soaked in love. Let your light shine before others. As Matthew 5:16 declares, not so that you may seek glory for yourself, but so that others may see good works and turn their hearts toward the Father in heaven. Child, come near to me honestly, live before me with sincerity, and allow what I place within you to become living water flowing outward to others. When you live this way, you will realize that you are not only someone who receives grace, but also a vessel through which I pour that grace into a world thirsty for genuine love. Beloved child, I want you to understand that true peace is not born from a day without storms, nor is it built upon comfortable things you can control with your own hands. The world often defines peace as the absence of loss, misunderstanding, waiting, or anything that causes the heart to tremble. But the peace I give is not fragile like that. It does not come and go according to human praise or rejection, nor does it bloom and fade with favorable circumstances. Nor can it be stolen simply because a door closes or troubling news shakes your heart. My peace is an inner refuge where your soul can still breathe, even while strong winds rage outside. When my son said, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. I do not give to you as the world gives." In John 14:27, it was not merely comfort for one moment, but a promise of a life anchored in me himself. You do not need to wait until every storm disappears before you can rest. You can rest in me even in the middle of the storm, because I am not merely standing outside watching you struggle. I am with you in every fragile breath. There will be days when you still cry, and I do not ask you to hide your tears in order to prove that you have faith. Tears do not push you away from me. Grief does not make you less spiritual. But I am teaching you that tears are not meant to become the final home of your soul. You may walk through the valley, but you must not build your tent there as though darkness were your destiny. Weeping may remain for a night, but rejoicing comes in the morning. As Psalm 30:5 declares, let those words become a small candle during the nights when you believe joy has departed forever. The joy I give is not a false smile painted over unhealed wounds, but a source of life deeper than every circumstance, a certainty that you are still loved, still held, still being guided, even when today you cannot yet see the full road ahead. I know there have been seasons when you grew weary from living through so much change. At times you looked around and saw everything shaking, and you wondered whether anything remained strong enough to trust with your heart. You once leaned upon people, plans, stability, and the illusion of control, only to ache when you discovered that all those things could change. But child, I do not change. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. As Hebrews 13:8 reminds you, meaning that in the middle of every shifting thing, there still remains a rock untouched by time. When you place your feet upon me, it does not mean you will never feel the wind. It means the wind no longer has authority to decide whether you collapse or stand firm. The rock does not always remove the storm immediately. The rock keeps the house from being swept away. Remember Paul and Silas in the prison at Philippi. Beloved child, they were beaten, chained, and locked inside a dark cell. And through human eyes, it appeared to be a night of failure. Yet in that darkness, they did not allow chains to write the final word over their souls. They prayed and sang praises to me in the night. Then the earth shook. The prison doors opened. The chains fell away. And even the jailer himself was touched by my life. The story in Acts 16 is not only about an outward miracle. It reveals something deeper. There is a kind of freedom that prisons cannot imprison. A kind of peace that iron cannot lock away. A kind of joy that can still sing while circumstances remain difficult. And you as well, there may be things surrounding you that feel binding. But if your heart remains in me, the deepest part of you can still be free. Therefore, do not measure my love according to your temporary emotions. Some days you feel me very near, your heart soft, your prayers flowing easily like water. Other days you feel dry, exhausted, confused, and you begin to question whether you have anything left to offer me at all. But my love is not controlled by the rise and fall of your emotions. When you are strong, I love you. When you are weak, I still love you. When you sing praises, I hear you. When all you can do is sit silently in exhaustion, I am still beside you. I will never leave you nor forsake you. As Hebrews 13:5 declares, is a truth I want engraved upon the most fearful places within your heart. You have never walked through a dark night alone. You may not have recognized me there, but I was present, keeping you from completely breaking apart, keeping your soul from surrendering, protecting a small seed of life within you until the light returned again. Beloved child, when you doubt, do not run away from me in shame. Bring even your doubts close to me. When you are weak, do not condemn yourself as though weakness were proof that you have been abandoned. Let that weakness become the place where you lean more deeply upon me. My strength is made perfect in weakness. As 2 Corinthians 12:9 says, is not a statement meant to shame you, but an invitation to stop trying to rescue yourself through your own strength. I do not require you to stand upright at all times like a warrior who never grows tired. Sometimes, the holiest thing you can do is allow me to carry you like an exhausted child. A child is not rejected by the father because it cries. A child does not lose the right to be loved because it trembles. And neither do you in my arms. Your fragility is not something despised. It is the very place where my mercy is revealed most gently. And there will come a day when you look back and realize that I was present in the places you once believed were the emptiest. I was there in the nights when you cried without anyone knowing. I was there in the mornings when you rose, despite the heaviness still inside your heart. I was there in the decisions you made with only a small fragment of faith remaining. I was there in the silence you once misunderstood as absence. I was there even in the moments when you believed you had nothing left to offer except a fractured heart. And you will understand that a broken heart placed into my hands can still become a vessel of light. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted. As Psalm 34:18 declares, I do not recoil from your wounds. I draw near in order to heal them. So today, let your heart rest quietly in me. Do not exhaust yourself trying to manufacture peace by arranging everything according to your own understanding, because that will only leave you more weary. Receive peace instead as a gift from the Father, like a quiet stream flowing into the deepest places of your soul. Let the joy I give grow not from perfect circumstances, but from the truth that you belong to me. Let your hope no longer anchor itself to things that can change, but to my everlasting love. When everything around you trembles, you can still stand, not because you are never weak, but because I am your strength. When darkness lingers, you can still breathe, because I am the unfailing light within you. And when you believe you have nothing worthy left to offer, remember that I do not look at you through the eyes of someone demanding perfection, but through the eyes of a Father who has called you beloved. I am here, still holding you, still loving you, still renewing you day by day until my peace becomes the deepest song within your soul. Beloved child, there are chains that do not bind the hands or feet, yet they have imprisoned your soul for many years. They were forged from words once spoken over you, from moments when you were overlooked, from failures that taught you to doubt yourself, and from wounds that quietly trained you to make yourself smaller. You became accustomed to walking as though you needed permission from life itself just to hope, accustomed to seeing yourself through old injuries, accustomed to believing that yesterday's weakness would define tomorrow's limits. But I do not see you through those eyes. I do not call you by the name of failure, nor define you by the seasons when you fell, nor use your fear to write your future. When my word declares, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has passed away. Behold, all things have become new. In 2 Coríntios 5:17, it is not merely a comforting sentence, but a proclamation over your identity. I am renewing you from the deepest places within, not merely drying the tears on the surface, but uprooting the lies that have clung to your heart for far too long. Do not fear when I touch the places you have learned to hide, because true healing does not merely soothe the surface. There are wounds that, if covered only with busyness, self-reassurance, or forced smiles, continue bleeding quietly into the way you love, the way you trust, the way you choose, and the way you see yourself. I did not come merely to patch your soul so you could continue living a weary life. I came to restore you completely. If the Son sets you free, you shall be free indeed. As John 8:36 declares, and that freedom is not merely escape from painful circumstances, but liberation from allowing those things to rule the voice inside you. I want you to rise, not as someone pretending to be fine, but as a soul called out of darkness, clothed again with dignity, rekindled with life, and taught to walk in the light of the Father. Remember Mephibosheth, beloved child. He had been crippled in both feet since childhood and lived in Lodabar like a forgotten man, carrying the shame of someone who believed he no longer held value before the king. When David summoned him, he bowed low and called himself a dead dog, because for too long he had viewed himself through the lens of loss, brokenness, and humiliation. But the king did not call him in to disgrace him. He called him in to restore him. David returned to him the land belonging to Saul's house and invited him to eat at the king's table like a son. Do you see? Some people enter the presence of grace carrying a diminished view of themselves, while I have already prepared for them a seat they never dared imagine possible. And so it is with you. I do not call you near in order to remind you how broken you once were. I call you to my table so you may remember to whom you belong. From this day forward, let my presence become the very air your soul breathes. Do not seek me only when you are exhausted, nor treat me as the final refuge after all your own strength has failed. I desire to walk with you through every ordinary breath, when you open your eyes in the morning, when you face a decision that feels unclear, when you perform unnoticed tasks, when you sit silently at the end of a long day and no longer know what to say. In him we live and move and have our being. As Acts 17:28 reminds you, meaning your life was never meant to exist apart from me. I am not distant, visiting your soul only during rare sacred moments. I am closer than your breath, steadier than your emotions, more faithful than everything you once leaned upon, only to watch it change. When you begin living with this awareness, loneliness slowly loses its power, because you realize there is not a single day you walk outside the loving gaze of the Father. Perhaps you still hear old voices echoing through your mind, telling you that you are not good enough, not strong enough, not worthy enough to step into something new. But child, you were never created to remain a prisoner of the words that once wounded you. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. As Romans 12:2 calls you to do, I am renewing not only your emotions, but also the way you think, the way you recognize yourself, the way you discern between the voice of truth and the echoes of old pain. Human words may once have nailed you to a false image of smallness, but my word has authority to take you down from that false cross and place you into resurrection life. I call you loved, chosen, protected, fearfully and wonderfully made. As Psalm 139:14 reveals, let my word become louder than every voice that ever taught you to lower your eyes in shame. And then you will realize that true courage is not the absence of trembling, but the willingness to keep walking while knowing that I am holding your hand. I do not wait until all your fear disappears before calling you into a new season. I call you even while your heart is still learning how to trust, so that you may understand strength does not come from feeling sufficient within yourself, but from remaining in me. There will be days when you move forward only in small steps, yet before me. Every step taken away from fear is a holy victory. Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. As Isaiah 41:10 declares, is not a promise spoken to people who have never been weak, but to children who know they need to be upheld. When you lean upon me, your fragility is no longer the ending point. It becomes the very place where my power lifts you up. Therefore, beloved child, stop living like someone merely trying to survive from one day to the next. I am calling you into true life, a life no longer defined by what once wounded you, no longer ruled by self-doubt, no longer held back by the false names your past tried to place upon you. Let me open your eyes to see what I have seen from the beginning, a soul of great worth, a heart capable of healing, a life able to reflect my light to others. Behold, I am making all things new. As Revelation 21:5 proclaims, is the breath I want to speak into the driest places within you today. Rise in grace, not through pride, but through the confidence that the Father has called you out of the old place. Walk forward in peace, not because you control everything, but because you are no longer alone. And as you learn to live daily within my presence, you will watch chains fall away, breath return, hope blossom again, and the true person I created within you begin to walk beneath a light that will never fade.